Hi and welcome to Who Really Cares, the podcast about unpaid caring brought to you by Carers in Bedfordshire. My name is Nikki and I'm your host, and I get the privilege of talking to some amazing people on this podcast. Today I'm joined by Eileen. Eileen is a wonderful woman. She's a parent carer, but not in the way that you would traditionally think. She was thrust into the role of caring when her daughter Gemma, as an adult, was diagnosed with cancer. That was 10 years ago, and they have been on a roller coaster ride ever since. Eileen has a story that's not easy to tell, and I have to share that sadly, since the recording of this podcast, Gemma has passed away. So you will understand that this was always going to be a difficult one to record and a difficult one to express. And I have to thank Eileen for taking the time. But she wanted to do this so that she could let other people in a situation similar to hers understand that they're not alone and that there is support out there, and that maybe if she could tell her story, that she could just help one person, then that would be enough. So please sit back and listen to the incredible Eileen. Thank you, Eileen, for joining me today. Are you well?
Yes, I am. Thank you. I am well.
Good. I'll start with the first question I usually ask all carers is, how was your caring day yesterday?
Well, it was a bit of a... Wednesdays are always a bit of a busy day for us anyway, because I not only care for my daughter, my adult daughter, who is terminally ill, end of life, with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. I also provide her with support with her own child, her daughter, who is 11, whom she shares parenting responsibilities for with her daughter's dad. So we're all very much a team, actually, between myself and my husband, who also cares for Gemma with me, and her ex-partner and his wife. We all work together to support our granddaughter. So yesterday it was, pick up granddaughter from school at 5 o'clock or just after 5 because she has a club, then whiz her across town to go for a piano lesson, then take her back to mummy's to have dinner, and then run her back to daddy's. So it is a bit like that. And in between time, I'm trying to get dinner on the table for all of us, for myself and for Gemma and for my husband and granddaughter, as whilst sorting out Gemma's medication, because that needed to be sorted. And so it was a bit of multitasking, and I have to say I did get a little bit frustrated at one point, because when you're doing medications, the last thing that you need is someone to be interrupting you, because you have to focus and make sure you get the right medications in the right boxes. We use these medication boxes with numbers and dates on, days on, and we have morning one and lunchtime, which is another set of medications at lunchtime, and then evening to sort out. And I do it on a 2-week rota. This is because the way Gemma is now, her illness is now, the cancer is in her brain, and she is, in terms of her short-term memory, it's not so good. She can forget things in a second. She can be mid-sentence and stop, and then she's looking at you for prompts. So you have to listen all the time, because you want to hear those, because you listen out for those pauses, and then so that you can prompt her, so that she feels that she's still having control over what she needs to have. And that can be hard. And so I was trying to do that, and get dinner. So it was all a bit of a challenge.
It sounds like you're spinning plates.
I was, and yesterday I was, and having to cook lunch, cook dinner at lunchtime yesterday. So, because knowing that between 5 o'clock and 7,
Yeah.
it's impossible. So, I had to prepare the meal in the morning,
Mm.
and then wrap it up ready to go. Unfortunately, the dog didn't get walked because, well, first of all, we had this awful rain yesterday, so there
Yeah,
was
yeah.
no way she was going to go out. But sometimes some things drop, and
Yeah, well, of course,
you
of
can't
course.
you can't do everything. You have to do the
Yeah.
best you can. Um,
And your caring role has changed over the years. I mean, you've been caring for Gemma for how long? 10
10
years?
years now. She was
Yeah.
diagnosed in 2013. Exactly 10 years ago. I can remember bonfire night being a Saturday, and
Mm.
on the Friday night, on the Friday she'd had her first chemotherapy, and having all of her friends around on the Saturday night because everybody felt so upset and sad about what was going on with Gemma.
Mm.
So we decided to have bonfire night, which carried on for about 5 years, including 2 years where we got soaking wet and freezing cold in the rain, setting off fireworks, because I had the biggest garden and that was deemed where we were all going. But it
Yeah.
did fizzle out because different Gemma was in remission, and people went their different ways.
Yeah,
Um,
because you've had that roller coaster of her being in remission and then
yeah,
getting ill again. So you feel like you were out of it, and then the cancer came back, didn't it?
it did in 2018. It came back
Mm.
in, and she had a double mastectomy and flat reconstruction in July, beginning of July in
Mm.
2018, and I just remember feeling so angry about it. Why
Mm.
Gemma? Why has this come back? It was
Yeah.
a total Taxol fail. I mean, that didn't work. The drug that she was given,
Yeah.
was a it was just a fail, and that happens. And then we went back into remission where everything seemed fine. And then 2 years later, we started on this palliative care road, which is
So you've
now,
basically been up and down twice.
yes,
What
twice.
an incredible roller coaster, really, though,
Yeah,
for you as a family.
it has. And it's made Gemma angry because she had so many plans. But when she came out of remission, when she was in remission in 2014-15, she just, career wise, she just took off. She just went off at a rate of knots, um,
Mm.
saying she was just, if I was going to get this chance, I was going to make it work, I was going to do something better with my life. And she's an IT consultant, and she's heavily
Mm.
involved in Salesforce, and she just went for it and formed this wonderful charity, um, that helps women into technology.
Mm.
And then just at the peak of everything, wallop, it comes back.
And
And
how did you kind of cope with that? Because having been through it twice, really, well, remission twice. How do you cope with it coming back again?
I don't know, I mean, Gemma was really angry. I just, at the time, we just moved house. We were
Mm.
just beginning, we'd had a difficult time at our previous home, not through our own fault. And so we had to move, and we moved. So we had all this vision of, Gemma's okay, she's
Mm.
fine, she's busy off doing her business. Um, her career had really kind of like just rocketed. And she was being so successful with a new company that she just started up herself. It was her own business,
Mm.
and so we could let relax a little bit, and
Yeah.
we were going to move house. It was going to be a fresh start for us. We were just so looking forward to moving. And I think we'd been in this house where we are now, 3 weeks when we got the news that it had spread to her bones, and
Mm,
that
gosh.
she was now stage 4 metastatic, which I knew what that meant,
Mm.
because I knew where else the cancer could spread.
Mm.
And very quickly, actually, so from the March Initially, she was on medication, tablets for the bone cancer, and then by September, it was in her liver, and
Mm.
we were starting chemotherapy again, and then other treatments, and then just recently, up until I think it was August, we found out it spread to her brain. But we
Mm.
we did know we did know. I mean, her oncologist did tell us, if back in July, if treatment stopped, she will go down very rapidly. Um,
Mm.
and that's where we are now, and she is declining. Um,
Yeah.
and the hard thing is watching your child, your adult child, albeit your adult child, you're still the parent,
Mm.
deteriorating in front of you, and there's nothing you can do. You are so powerless, so powerless.
It's it's. I mean, your situation is so difficult because a lot of people talk about diagnosis being a starting point of caring, and how when you get the diagnosis, um, your future is different. So you start the grieving process of the future that you thought you had, and all of this stuff is what
Hmm.
carers often say. But you've been through that basically three times,
Yeah,
and every time has been different. So I mean, from the outside, you just marvel at the strength to keep going, kind of thing. um, about how you keep getting back up. I just don't I just don't know how you whether I would be able to do that, Eileen.
you
I
have
don't know.
to when it's your child, and I think
Mm.
this is what's different. And this goes back to what I was saying about that I've said before about services for parents of adult children.
Mm.
They're either in a situation like that, like we are, where we are providing care for our adult daughter because she is a single mother. She hasn't got a relationship with anyone. She has a daughter who's 11, whom we've almost had to parent as well as grandparent. Which, when you
Yeah.
get grandchildren, you don't plan to do. You don't plan to parent your grandchildren. You
Mm.
plan to grandparent them, which is much more relaxed. And you
Yeah.
let the parents deal with the negative behaviour, and you just indulge them in different
Yes.
ways.
Yes.
We've not been able to do that because we've had times where Molly's behaviour has been challenging,
Mm.
understandably, because since she was 18 months old, in effect, she has she has only ever known her mum with cancer. She's never known
Mm.
her mum really without cancer. She was 18 months old when Gemma was diagnosed. So
And
she's
of
never
course,
known any difference.
that's right. And of course, she's going through her own
She
process.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
So you're having to provide support for her, and everything has to be, focused on her really because she's a child.
Mm.
And then you've got your adult child needing your adult child, yeah, your adult child needing your support and help to do practical things. So,
Mm.
for the last 2 years, we've been running Gemma to hospital for appointments, for scans. I've had to
Mm.
take her down for a PET scan, which means she has to sit in the back of the van. Well, I had a big 6-seater van, so she used to sit in the back of the van coming back from the hospital because of the radioactive glucose that they use. So you're not allowed to be near them for 10 hours. Um, all of that, watching her lose her hair. Um, Watching Gemma take control of everything as she does, and having her hair shaved off before it all fell off. That was really hard, really tough.
Mm.
Um, and that was the back in 2000 and 2022, 2021, yeah, 2021 when she started back on the chemo.
And
And
and going back to what you said before, is that you are a parent carer, but not in the kind of traditional sense of being able to find peer support and everything for most other parent carers who are usually looking after a child who was born needing care.
yeah,
but you're different because you, as you said, Gemma is an adult,
Yes.
and being being on her own, her natural source of care is you.
Mum and dad,
But
yes.
yeah, mum and dad. But you don't have a support network for or peer
No,
support so much.
I mean, I have friends that
Mm,
I have around me, but they've not had this experience in this way.
mm,
You know, and not even my own siblings either, because whilst we've lost our parents, it was very different. My parents were very well, they were in their late 80s. My dad was in his early 90s when he passed away, which is,
yeah,
the natural order of things is
yeah.
what people expect.
Mm,
My siblings don't understand it at all, and I don't get any support from them either. Um, if I'm to be truthful,
mm.
um, and
And have you managed to find support in the community
I mean,
or?
Bedfordshire Carers has been brilliant in terms of they give me a welfare worker,
Yeah,
and Donna is wonderful, and she's there when I need her,
yeah.
and I mean she's come to visit me as well, you
Mm,
know, as when things have been tough, she's been there, but there's just there's this situation where you've either got parents caring for adult children, or you've got adult children who are terminally ill, such as Gemma, who are in a relationship with a partner and have children, and all the support services are thrown around them, and the parents of the person that's terminally ill, that's dying, is just left blowing in the wind without any thought about how they're feeling. And I think the thing that gets forgotten is that you give life to your children. You're the ones that give them life, and you raise them, and you put everything you can into keeping them safe the whole of their lives. You give them good counsel, hopefully. You coach them into them. You give advice. You let them make mistakes, because that's important too. And then, with the hope that they become adults and then they go off to live their lives as they should. You don't expect your child to become ill, as Gemma has. But I know that there are more and more parents like myself, like my husband and I, who are having this experience. If you
mm,
have a child, parents of children who become sick tend to be those ones where their actual children become poorly in childhood. They get
mm,
cancer in childhood, and there is so much support around them, but it just gets forgotten, because there's this thing that while they're adult, they don't rely on their parents anymore, you know? And
mm,
but it doesn't hurt any less, because you've loved them for all of that time. You know, my daughter is now 39. I have
mm,
loved her for 39 years. And every year and every day that I love her more deeply. So it cuts more deeply. The hurt cuts more deeply. Because I
mm,
think because you've known them for so long, you've been in that relationship with them for so long. And then suddenly, the very person that's so precious to you, that you've spent all this time and energy, sorry, keeping keeping them safe, giving them good counsel, giving them a good start in life. You've put so much time and energy into that because you love them and you want the best for them. And suddenly you're just left with, well, now I'm just going to lose everything I've invested
mm,
into them. And it absolutely was, totally investing in your children is absolutely 150% the right thing to do. But you just feel like you're kicked in the stomach when this happens, because
yeah,
everything you've striven for is slipping through your fingers. And that's why it hurts so much. It does
yeah,
hurt, because,
no,
and then suddenly you're back in this role where you've got to make sure they're safe. now that you've got to balance off the risk of um, them being safe and having independence and having their own, being able to be their own advocate. And it is a balancing act. And we are at that stage now with Gemma because she is forgetting things. And so, what we've had to do is the first thing is manage her medications in a way that she doesn't forget to take, or she's forgotten she's taken and takes more by accident.
Yeah.
That's the risk that we are balancing off at the moment. And so we've worked with Gemma about what system works so that she can do it independently without us having to be there every 5 minutes, because she wants her own space. And
Yeah.
rightly so. She didn't expect to be here. She didn't expect to be dependent on her parents in this way.
And have you taken the time and spoken to her about the future, about what she wants
Yes,
and
we
what you
have.
plan?
We have. And it has been a difficult conversation. And, that this is, I would agree with everyone who's going through this experience. It is a really difficult thing to do. We all talk about planning a wedding. We all talk about planning a christening or a birth or all these wonderful positive experiences, but nobody ever talks about planning someone's death or someone's funeral, and those get thrown under the carpet and not discussed. And actually, I can't take credit for what Gemma has done, because my own mother actually planned all of her own funeral, and my dad's funeral as well. I don't think he got a say in it, to be fair. She just said, this is happening and that's what's happening, and he just said yes. So but one thing that you must do is have these conversations, as difficult as they are, because we now know what Gemma wants. We now know what she's expecting of us. We've clarified things with people that we need to clarify things with. She even went to visit the crematorium where she wants to have the service. I know, very unusual.
Yeah.
But she wanted to see where she was going to be. She
I
wanted
like that.
she wanted to see what the options were for her as a place to rest. And she wanted to do that with her parents. It was the most difficult thing I ever had to do in my entire life. My husband and I were absolutely distraught, I have to say. Gemma accepted that. She was very accepting of that. She gave us space and time for us to just get used to where we were. And then when we went into the gardens to see where she could, be laid to rest, she it was much more calming. And on reflection, coming back, it was the right thing to do, not only for Gemma but for us, because when you're losing a loved one, you're grieving them before they go, because you're grieving and it's going to happen, so you're grieving the in a way that you don't know how it's going to happen. You're scared, you're not sure about things, you're worried about things, and then suddenly you're thrown into, well, right, it's happened and now we've got to organise a funeral. By going to visit, that's taken away that fear of what the next steps that has to happen when Gemma's passed. It's boxed off something that we don't have to be afraid of anymore. It's going to be upsetting, but we now know where we're going, what the venue looks like, all the things that go with it. have prepared us a little bit for it.
And maybe on the actual day, it might be comforting a bit that she was there.
Yes, because then we'll have that memory. We'll have that memory.
Yeah.
And yeah. So sorry.
No, don't apologise. It's sad. It's very sad. And I'm sorry that you're having to go through it all, Eileen. I really am.
But I'm not alone in this. I know that there are lots of people like myself in this situation. And I don't think there are, I mean, there are lots of wonderful services. And I have to say, I can't complain about Bedfordshire Carers at all. You've been absolutely brilliant in the help that I've had, even to the point where I was referred to the hospice for hospice services, so I'm getting some counselling from there too.
Well, that's good.
Because of Bedfordshire Carers, that was a referral that your organisation made, and that's really helped. But I'm not alone in this, and I really think there is a gap in the services for parents of adult children. I think because probably, and it's just an assumption, because in most situations, most adult children are in relationships with children and family of their own, so the support services come straight around them, and they don't encompass the parents of that person who's terminally ill.
Yes, it would be the spouse and any children would get the focus.
Yeah, and they don't stop to think about the people that actually gave life to this person and brought them into the world. And you never stop being a parent, and you never stop loving your children. You never do. Even irrespective of the age they are, you never ever stop loving your children. And then parent carers of adult children, if I was a parent carer of a child, there'd be a whole raft of support services around me there too. But there's no raft of services around, there's no services around adult carers who are caring for their adult children.
No, you're right.
It's just not there.
And what sort of services would you like to see in place if you were in charge? What would you do?
If I was in charge, it would be, I think there needs to be people that need to be reached out to. We need to find out who is actually in that situation, who wants that help. So there needs to be perhaps, like when we contact Bedfordshire Carers, you register, you fill out a form, etc., and you explain your situation. That information around all the parents who are caring for adult children, they need to be consulted about what they want and need, because just to have somebody who is another parent carer like myself in my situation to sit and talk to and share, or not share, and have knowing that you're not alone. This is the key thing. Andrew and I feel so alone at times. Sorry, but we do. At times we just feel it's me and him, and that's it, in the middle of it, with Gemma and Molly. And there's nobody around us. There are people around us. My best friend is coming from looking at this from another perspective. This because she lost her mum to breast cancer. So when she was a teenager, so she is in the situation of Molly is going to be in. So she's never had that. She's never understood how her grandparents felt about losing her mum, and that's made her think quite a lot as a result of watching what we're going through. because it can be really lonely. It can be so lonely.
It's funny because I think that thing of feeling isolated and alone, and that you are on your own, is such a common thing um, amongst carers in general, I would say,
Mm.
because I think that all of them say, all I want is for somebody to talk to and for
Yeah,
somebody to listen.
it
Because I
is.
know there's nothing you can do, and that's the thing. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing I
No,
can do for you, really.
no,
The situation's horrible. It's going to happen. You know, it is, you are on a set path. There's nothing I can do. But, you know, having people to listen and talk to helps.
makes a difference. But
Yeah,
having someone to listen to and talk to who's experienced or
yeah,
gone through what you have gone through is the key
yeah,
thing, because they need to be able to empathize and understand
yeah,
exactly all the feelings that you had when you went through it. Because you go through things as well, like, was this something I did while I was pregnant? Did I take
yeah,
something that's maybe affected Gemma in some way,
yeah,
now later in life? Because that's the difference with parents. And it doesn't, and I would say probably parents of children who are poorly or terminally ill will have these same feelings. It's the feeling of, did I take something that I shouldn't have taken while I was pregnant?
yeah,
Did I do something wrong when I was raising them, when I was looking after them? Did I give them something they shouldn't have had? Is this my fault this has happened?
yeah,
Because you go through all of those questions. And I do. There's sometimes I go through and think, well, she was on this medication at this time. Is there things wrong with that medication? Should I have
yeah.
not given her it? Or all these different things.
I
Um,
suppose
when I was
that's the kind. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
pregnant, I nearly lost Gemma. I mean, we've always been battling to keep her. Um, I was on bed rest. So was it something when I was pregnant? It's all
Yeah,
these different things that you go through, and they're no different. Just because your child is an adult, those feelings are no different to a parent of a child who has got a little, a child who's got cancer. Those
yeah,
feelings are no different. They're all exactly the same because you're a parent, and
yeah.
that's why you know having someone to talk to is important. But the services it needs to be someone who's gone through that experience and
Mm,
understands all the feelings that you have as a parent. And it's
yeah,
totally different to caring for somebody who, if you're caring for your parent the other way round, or you're caring for your husband or something like that, it's a totally different thing.
that's
And
true.
they're just the I don't think there is the services there for parents
Mm,
going through that where they can sit down and say, well, was it something I did wrong, or if only I'd done this? Because the other thing about caring for an adult child is they have their independence. They have, they're
mm,
used to being their own person. So suddenly being in this situation where they can't do certain things anymore. And I'll give the example of when Gemma got told she couldn't drive anymore. She was really angry. We had a shared car, Gemma and I. She started to question, well, if I'm not allowed to drive it anymore, why are we sharing the car anymore? And wanted to absolve her responsibilities with it.
mm,
And I had to explain to her that that I was her chauffeur in effect,
yeah.
and that we still had places to go, we still had things to do, we still had to make sure that her daughter got to and from school. So there was all of that challenge as well, because
Mm,
suddenly she'd lost her independence, and that made her really angry. So we got both barrels on that one, and it took quite a bit of working to get her to see the other perspective on things. So
yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right
just
that not many people would. would have been in that situation.
No.
There's only very few people who would relate to that.
Yeah.
Is what your point is.
So just having a place to go and someone to talk to, but someone to also problem solve with, because just because your child is, your adult child, I have to get this right, is terminally ill, doesn't mean they stop having capacity. It's not, this disease, cancer, is a progressive disease. It's a chronic progressive disease. It can take time to progress, and it can go very quickly at the other end of the scale. In the situation we're in, this is now 10 years since Gemma was diagnosed, which is a long time scale that we've been living with it. So, she has capacity. She pushes back. Yesterday evening, I was trying to set up dinner, and her kitchen's small, and she wanted something out of the freezer, and then there was a backlash from that because I was in the way. So, I promptly got told I was in the way, and needed to move, because at that time she needed to get in the freezer to get something. So you've got all of these little things going on, and just having someone to share with, who's in similar situation, who can say, well, have you thought about doing this, or have you thought about doing that, and can give you the benefit of their advice and guidance, so that you can work better with the situation you've got. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about lack of, my concerns around not very much support for parents of adult children who are ill.
So it really would be like peer support, other people who've been through it personally, not paid people necessarily.
No. Yeah, peer support, someone that you can bounce off of.
Yeah. And one question I always ask, and I know this has been such a long journey for you, and such an up and down journey as we've discussed. What do you wish that you had have known? Like, what do you wish that you had have known, that you had to go through the pain of learning at the start now? What do you wish you'd had known at the start?
Well, that's a difficult one, because the advice I was given at the start was to become Gemma's PA. So that's what I did. I became her personal assistant. I wished I'd known at the start that what the journey could entail. If her oncologist had said, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, but you have to prepare yourself that it may not be the right outcome for you. And each time we've come back, and Gemma's had the same oncologist all the way through. He's always been very positive, and it's only been in the last few months that he's always been straight and honest with us, but it's only been in the last few months that he's actually said, that she will decline very quickly, and to prepare ourselves. He's never kind of indicated that, we can do our best to help her with all the treatments, etc. But you have to understand that the nature of the disease she's got, and been a bit more honest about it. I'm not saying it was dishonest, but just...
No, I know what you mean. It's a bit... I mean, I think there's a fine line between giving hope, because you want people to have hope, but not being overly optimistic. As well as, yeah, I understand.
So that was quite a difficult question for me to think about, because...
No, I know.
In the main, I know that we are where we are with Gemma because of the treatments that she has had, and we've had, and the fact she's here 10 years later. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
But given this type of cancer that she had, was had it had an 80% plus death rate up after 5 years, and it was the most researched by cancer researchers as a result, because so
And do you
many women
feel,
were dying.
yes, of course. And do you feel like, so those extra years you've got have been a welcome bonus in a way, or?
Yeah, I mean, every day
Yeah.
we have her, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, we do,
Yeah.
we do um, have lighter moments, and we recommend different TV programs, and she'll put
Mm.
TV programs in my watch list, which makes me chuckle a bit. 'Cause she thinks something I should watch, she'll put it in my watch list, and then I have to sit and watch it because it's in my watch list, because she'll then ask me about it. So it's not all doom and gloom. And
Mm.
I mean, I do have a niece that supports us. There's only 5 years between myself and my niece, and she's not very
Mm.
far away, and she's Gemma's cousin, so they come over quite a bit from Suffolk, and they help um, to kind of keep the mood light. We have had a lot
Mm.
of visitors in September, and we had an afternoon tea. So it's not all doom and gloom.
Mm.
And what I would say is, you have to have those moments. You have to make memories, as much as you possibly can,
Yeah.
in no matter how little they are. They're really important, because you've got something to look back on.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that you do that. And we have
Mm.
we have got memories. And Gemma's got a lot of American friends, so we get bombarded from time to time, as they all get on a plane and come over to see her. And so, you know there are it's all of those moments that you're just making lots of memories,
Mm.
and that's what's really important, to
Yeah.
just treasure every second you have.
Yeah.
And when you find it too much, find someone to offload onto, um, as much as you can, and then pick yourself up and dust yourself down and get on with it, because that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's what you need to do.
Yeah, that's life, isn't it? For
It is.
everybody. I mean, everybody's got their struggles, most not as brutal as yours, I would suggest, but I think that philosophy is you've got to keep going. You just have to. And of course, you've got Molly as well. So,
We have, yes, and
mm.
we've got responsibilities, that
Mm.
Gemma's given to us, to as her representative going forward, when she's passed away. So we
Yeah.
we have a duty to do that. We have to keep going, because we've got this little girl that is
Yeah.
relying on us and expecting us to,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it hard, really. And that includes having, sometimes, to you have to form relationships, with others, and work as a team,
Yeah.
in order to facilitate that, to make it happen, because Molly deserves it.
Yeah. And do you think having Molly, I don't know, I was going to ask it, this might sound like a stupid question though, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you think having Molly eases your pain in some way?
um Partly. um I think I'm sad she's losing her mummy.
Mm.
I never expected my grandchild to be growing up without her mum,
Yeah.
and that hurts me a lot. And when Gemma was first diagnosed, I worked so hard in order to get Gemma well as best as I could,
Mm.
with the doctors and everybody else that was involved, in the hope that she would remain well and Molly would never remember it. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Mm.
And I think that's where I felt let down, really, in a way, because I just strove to make sure
Oh,
that we could get Gemma well, and Molly would never have to think about it again. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
well, you just I mean, no, and it didn't happen. But I suppose if you're going to take anything away from it as well, is that you've at least got a relationship with Molly and you were there for her and, all of those positive things, and you did try. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it was out of my hands, and that's the thing. It is
that's it.
out of your hands. There is nothing you can do. So you
No.
just have to get on with it. And yeah, I mean, Molly, um, we've always had a good relationship with her. We've been caring for her since she was a baby.
Mm,
So she loves her nanny and granddad, and we adore her. Um, and she's got a good sense of humour, so she makes everybody laugh. Um, you know, so that's what I'm saying. You've got to
yeah.
treasure the light moments and make the most of them.
Yeah.
Um, but the other things that we've had to learn is how, how are we going to, all of us have had to learn, myself, my husband, and Gemma, and Molly's daddy, we've all had to learn how do we communicate what's going on with Gemma to an 11-year-old child, or an 8-year-old child, or a 10-year-old
Mm,
child at every stage. And,
mm,
the most difficult thing that they had to do in July was when, in August, when she came back from her holiday that she had arranged, that Gemma had arranged for her with some of her friends, um, that, she wasn't going to survive. And that was a really difficult conversation that mummy and daddy had to have with
mm,
her. For me, I counselled them as best as I could, and I sought advice online. So there are organisations online that you can find that will give you guidance on how to communicate
mm,
these things to children, or how to prepare them, um,
mm.
as best as you can. But none of us know how she's going to
No,
react at the end of the day, and we just have
no.
to take one step at a time,
Yeah,
and that's all we can
absolutely.
do.
Yeah.
That's all we
And
can do.
just, you're all going to be there to support each other, I suppose.
Well, yes. I mean, Molly will. She she already comes. We see her every day because I have to pick her up from school. But
Mm,
we also um, see her at other times, and she has her own room here. So, which is, she's been staying with us since she was a baby.
mm,
So that's no change really.
mm,
It's just the change will be, eventually, that she won't be going to mummy's house, but she will have mummy's house. She just won't have it yet. So, there will be some changes for her to deal with,
mm.
and it's just how we manage it, really.
And changes for all of you.
Yeah, changes for all of us.
Yeah. Eileen, I think I just I cannot fathom how much strength you have had to gather from somewhere. And I think you're one of those people that you never know the depths of your strength until you're put into a situation where you have to find it. And I think that you have been asked to find such enormous strength. And thank you for sharing your story with us because
You're
it's
welcome.
incredible.
I just want to
It's
help.
incredible.
If it helps someone else going through the same thing,
Mm,
then, that's the most important thing, because
yeah.
I've had the help to get me through each day. But believe you me, there are days I just sit in with my, it's
Mm,
perfectly normal to sit down and and the tears roll down your face, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's really important that it does, because it's about emotional release. And so, it's important to cry. It's important to do that,
mm,
because if you don't, you're not going to be any good for the person that you're caring for. And
absolutely.
you and don't beat yourself up if you do feel like that sometimes, because that's natural for you to feel like that. um,
Mm,
and that's the one thing that I would say that keeps me going, really, because there's days I just cry every day, and then I go to see Gemma. But that's the way of it is. But then when
mm,
I've done that, I'm ready to go and sort of do what I need to do. And then you just keep yourself busy. You're so busy looking after them, it actually distracts you from what the situation is at times. So
Yeah, dealing with the practicalities rather than the emotional
yeah,
side of it. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
a lot of people say the same thing, that if you concentrate on the practicalities sometimes and just get the job done.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Eileen, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
And I wish you all the best. I know the future's tricky for you in the short term, but I wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you. Well, if it helps somebody that's that's listening to this, then that's the job done.
Oh, thank you, Eileen.
You're welcome.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
So, Eileen, thanks again. I've said it before and I'll say it again. What an amazing and incredible woman. And I want to wish her all the best, because I know the last few months have been incredibly difficult for her and her family. Thank you for listening, and we will keep bringing out these episodes. So do like and subscribe so that you can stay on board whenever we get a new one. I've got some interesting people lined up, so I really look forward to welcoming you again to Who Really Cares.